Welcome to VACORP's webinar entitled Safety Attitude. This training session is recommended for all employees. We will talk about what it takes and what it means to have a safety attitude. We will not be discussing OSHA regulations or statistics because a safety attitude is not something that can be regulated or quantified. We hope that today's training session will promote discussion and thought, and you will ask yourself how you can improve your own safety attitude both at work and at home. The session objectives today will first be understand you're responsible for safety, provide a clear definition of safety attitude, think about safety in all work situations, teach and talk about safety, model safety. Safety attitude makes a difference, prevents injuries. Your safety attitude prevents injuries to you and others. Wearing the proper personal protection equipment is one example of how safety attitude protects you. Your safety attitude protects the company from OSHA fines. Your suggestions or actions, such as housekeeping, following safe procedures, and keeping guards on machinery, keep our company in compliance with OSHA regulations. Safety attitude helps prepare for the unexpected. Those with safety attitudes know the location of fire extinguishers, the evacuation routes, exits, and first aid kits. They understand procedures for reporting fires, chemical spills, and other emergencies. Employees with a safety attitude help improve the working environment and morale. Their safety suggestions make a safer and more efficient work area. Their attitude towards safety procedures and wearing proper personal protection equipment encourages others to do the same. Safety is not just a slogan. Safety is priority one. Some companies make this statement part of their operating procedures and guidelines. However, when production is increased because of customer demands or pressures, safety may become priority two. The safety attitude requires both the company and employee to make safety a core value of production process and individual lives. Values do not change in the way that priorities can change. Values become part of the way you live your life. They are part of your character. If you value safety, it will become part of your life, character, and everything you do every day. Developing a safety as a value. The first step is to think about safety when working at home and on the job. Be aware of potential hazards and how to protect yourself from those hazards. The next step is talk about safety. Teach other employees about hazards on the job. Tell your kids about hazards, such as crossing the street or not wearing a helmet. Working safely is the next step, such as actually putting on personal protection equipment. Eventually, safety will become a habit for certain jobs. Now, every time you get ready to mow the lawn, you will automatically put on your safety glasses, your hearing protection, even before getting out the lawnmower. Finally, safety becomes a value because it's part of your character. In almost everything you do, if you think about hazards, discuss the hazards with others, work safely with appropriate personal protection equipment, this process will become an ingrained habit and will eventually become a core value. Safety responsibility at work. OSHA has a general duty clause that requires employers to provide in a place of employment that is free of recognized hazards that could cause death or serious injury. Management has a responsibility of providing engineering controls, administrative controls, and personal protection equipment that will help you work safely. The safety manager typically has a responsibility of ensuring that management is providing a safe workplace, implementing additional controls to improve safety, training employees to recognize and avoid hazards. Training employees to become safely will go a long way toward improving the safety of the company. Supervisors are typically responsible for enforcing the safety controls implemented by management, reinforcing the training provided by a safety manager. You, however, have the largest responsibility. OSHA's General Duty Clause also requires employees to comply with OSHA rules that apply to their work environment, even though it is the employer's responsibility to train the employee on OSHA requirements. Safety responsibility at home. First is to provide a safe environment. 2, to provide safety equipment. 3, teach children safely. And most importantly, you lead by example. Safety attitude defined. When you have a safety attitude, you have a genuine concern for safety and well-being of other employees. You feel it is a part of your responsibility to maintain a safe work environment. You stay informed about safety issues, pay attention during safety meetings, and participate in safety discussions. You follow safety rules and procedures at all times. You understand how to identify hazards and how to protect yourself from hazards. You stay healthy and fit, which keeps you alert and you can concentrate on doing your job safely. An unsafe attitude. Obviously, a person with an unsafe attitude is the opposite safety characteristics of a person with a safety attitude. Think about where you are on the scale with an unsafe attitude on one end and safety attitude on the other. We hope that you are closer to the safety attitude part of the spectrum. People with unsafe attitudes are complacent about safety. They don't care about safety meetings or learning about safety in general. They choose to cut corners in order to get things done quickly. They have a careless disregard for safety rules and procedures. They will probably not wear required personal protection equipment when management is not around. They have a tendency to act recklessly because they either forget or do not care that their actions could harm someone else. They are likely to be pranksters or be involved in horseplay. They come to work fatigued or hungover. They make mental errors that could cause them to be injured or result in poor quality workmanship. They miss days a few times a month, and many frequently ask to go home early. Safety attitude definition and questions. Do you have any questions about the definition of safety attitude? Developing a core value or responsibility for safety. Think safety in machine operations. Consider the hazards of each machine. Wear the proper personal protection equipment. Inspect machines and the equipment before use, during use, and after the work is completed. Get the proper training for the equipment. Follow lockout-tagout procedures. And lastly, perform maintenance only if authorized. Think safety material handling. Consider your back. Number 2, utilize material handling aids like forklifts, carts, and dollies. 3rd, evaluate the load and clear the path before going down the route. 4, use the proper PPE that's required. And lastly, always lift properly by thinking intelligently about your back. Think safety working with chemicals. 1, consider the hazards. Read the label or material safety data sheet before you start working with the chemical. Wear the proper PPE. And last, follow storage and handling procedures. Think safety housekeeping. Good housekeeping requires a safety attitude. Take the initiative and responsibility to clean up non-hazardous spills or move tripping hazards. Consider the safety of others and correct an unsafe condition, even if you did not cause it. Correcting an unsafe condition prevents injuries. Housekeeping helps prevent fires because combustible items such as boxes, pallets, paper, oil, or solvents, soaked rags are not allowed to pile up and are not stored near ignition sources such as hot equipment or welding areas. Proper housekeeping also contributes to a quick response to an emergency situation and ensures all exits, firefighting equipment are always clear and accessible. Think safety and emergency preparedness. Think about the location of fire extinguishers that are near your workstation. Where are other extinguishers located? Are you trained and authorized to use a fire extinguisher? Your role in a fire situation may be to report the fire and evacuate so that firefighters can respond. You should know the location at least 2 exits or escape routes that are near your workstation. A person with a safety attitude will help others evacuate in emergency situations. What would you do if someone in your work area is seriously injured or appears to be having a heart attack or seizure? If you have not been trained in first aid CPR, report the incident. Think safety away from work. 1. During home projects. 2. In the automobile. 3. During sports and activities. And lastly, you are the safety officer for your children and your household. Think safety during meetings and training. Safety meetings and training sessions are opportunities to learn about hazards and how to protect yourself. Learn and follow the safety operating procedures for the job, task, and equipment in your workplace. Don't be afraid to ask questions so that you can learn to assess the hazards of every work situation. Consider asking about leading certain training sessions. Your expertise in certain areas or production processes will certainly help other workers understand the safety concerns that you face every day. Thinking safety. Do you have any questions about how a person with a safety attitude is always thinking about safety? Talk safety to coworkers. Discuss safety hazards that are around the area or in the process of the machines. Provide safety suggestions and report hazards. Initiate a safety discussion. When working with others, take the time to initiate discussions before starting a job. Discuss the safest way to do the job. If someone is injured while doing the job previously, discuss what happened and how it can be prevented. Talk safety, teach others. Teaching safety does not mean you have to get up in front of people in a classroom and talk about safety. Safety is primarily taught and learned on the production floor. Point out potential safety hazards to new workers in your area. Remind them not to operate equipment and machinery until properly trained. Tell the new employee about personal protection equipment for jobs in your work area. If they are not wearing eye protection or correct type of glove, remind them. Teach safety operating procedures such as lifting techniques, operating machinery, stopping equipment in emergencies, correctly using hand and power tools, and safely handling chemicals. Become proactive in stopping someone from performing an unsafe act. Talk safety at home. 1. Discuss safety hazards. 2. Teach safe procedures. 3. Encourage safe behavior and use the proper personal protection equipment when needed. And lastly, always discuss emergency plans. Act safe, set an example. If you have a safety attitude, you do not just talk about safety, you live it, walk the talk. You may have added peer pressure because after telling others to wear personal protection equipment, you do not want to be caught without your own personal protection equipment. This peer pressure will help you become a better safety leader. Always inspect equipment before using it and read chemical labels before opening the container. Other employees may be watching to make sure you are working as safely as you say you are. Follow safe operating procedures that might include required personal protection equipment, machine inspection, and other steps necessary to do the job safely. Learn about hazards of your work area. Once you completely understand those hazards, start learning the hazards of other work areas that you have to enter occasionally as part of your job. Get involved with the safety program. Ask to help with safety meetings. volunteer for safety committee. They will help you learn even more about safety process so that you can become better at evaluating hazards and protecting yourself from them. Act safe. Encourage safe behavior. Compliment others for following safe working procedures. Compliment others for wearing the appropriate PPE. Put a stop to horseplay. Tell management about unsafe conditions, procedures, or acts. Act safe, health and fitness. Get plenty of sleep. 2. Eat nutritious meals. 3. Start a stretching and exercising program. 4. Manage stress. And lastly, avoid drugs and alcohol. Talk and walk safety. Any questions? Do you have any questions about how a person with a safety attitude talks and walks safety? Key points to remember. 1. Make safety a value. 2. Safety is your responsibility. 3. Learn to assess and correct hazards. 4. Talk and teach safety. And lastly, model your safety attitude. This concludes the webinar for Safety Attitude.